Bak Muay Thai!
What's up, gang, and welcome back aboard the Paper Starship, where it's about keeping the mediaverse connected from the past to the present and the mainstream to the obscure. I'm your pilot Redux, and today we're going to be taking a trip to a genre of the mediaverse we've yet to explore, but one that I've spent plenty of time in throughout my life. Martial arts films, or chopsaki movies as some call them. I'm not necessarily going to go through the entire history of martial arts films, otherwise we'd be here all day. Rather, I want to discuss my own journey in appreciating them as I grew up. However, the main reason we're here today will be to talk about what I believe to be the greatest martial arts movie of all time. A lot of lists would say that's Enter the Dragon. And while it's a trailblazing and iconic film, the genre has evolved, and martial arts movies have become about bigger scenes, more athletic stars, and more than anything, style. The film I still believe to be the peak of all three is the 2003 Tony Jaa breakout Muay Thai epic, Ong Bak. If you've never seen or heard of this movie, let me make you aware of Ong Bak the same way I became aware of it over 20 years ago.
What's up? The RZA, Wu-Tang, bang! Hey yo, what's up, yo? It's the RZA representing the Wu-Tang Clan. I want to put y'all on to the most death-defying, bone-shattering, skull-cracking, chest-pounding, neck-cracking martial artists of all times, yo. Check out my man Tony Jaa. The movie is called Ong Bak, #1 martial art film of this year. Hey yo, take a look at this. You gonna be blown out your seat, son. Trust me.
I took the RZA's words to heart, and it was one of the best viewing decisions I've ever made. Ong Bak is a movie I'm still watching with my jaw dropped in appreciation over 20 years later. But before we really dive into the film and what went into its creation, we must take a brief detour to the before time and the long, long ago of 1995. I was 8 years old at the time, and though I had already watched plenty of action movies, I hadn't really seen a martial arts film to that point. My dad changed that when he took me to see Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx in theaters. I still vividly remember my dad making a point of telling me during so many crazy scenes that Jackie Chan had done all the stunts himself and there were no doubles. I didn't grasp the scope of this until the end credits, which shows the numerous takes of stunts gone wrong and seeing the cuts, bruises, and broken bones that went into making the film. I was an instant fan and anxiously awaited any Jackie Chan movie that made its way to the States. In the mid to late 90s, it was First Strike, Super Cop, Operation Condor, and then when I graduated from elementary school, my gift I asked for was a Jackie Chan film set, Fearless Hyena Volume 1 and 2. I played the living hell out of those movies that summer, especially the final fight in Fearless Hyena 2 because it has everything. Violent deaths, amazing choreography, and that song from the Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones fights that guy on the truck. Just enjoy this clip. Jackie Chan was mostly known for his acrobatic evasive skills, but as I got older and began to appreciate the strikes delivered on screen more than escapability, my new favorite became Jet Li, as he kind of took over the US action scene in the early 2000s with Romeo Must Die, Kiss of the Dragon, Cradle to the Grave, and of course, The One, which featured Jet Li fighting Jet Li. It's a pretty awesome movie. Fast forward to 2004 when one of my best friends shows me that RZA trailer, and it seemed like maybe I had found my next favorite silver screen Street Fighter. I was waiting in anticipation. Unfortunately, there wasn't a theater near me that was showing Ong Bak, so I had to wait until late 2005 to rent it from Hollywood Video. Immediately, I was excited because even the DVD said Tony Jaa is the long-awaited answer to Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. That's some high praise. I also did like this other line on the DVD that says, "the nuclear bomb of cool." And yeah, that's weirdly a perfect way to describe Ong Bak. However, at the time, I didn't know I was about to witness the martial arts equivalent of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Something unique that's never been seen before. Something that's just lightning in a bottle. And while imitated afterward, can never be replicated. A timeless piece of media that can and should be appreciated until the end of cinema. Let me take you through the elbow-throwing, knee-striking, skull-cracking martial arts odyssey that is Ong Bak. I feel to be able to truly appreciate Ong Bak, we have to first look at its production, not only to gain insight on its lead actor, director, and inspiration, but also to dissect the cinematic elements that make Ong Bak unique. Let's begin with our star, Tony Jaa. Born and raised in Thailand, Jaa grew up watching the films of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, tirelessly practicing the moves he had witnessed on screen until he could perform them exactly the way the masters had. Jaa began studying Muay Thai at the age of 10, and by 15 he was protege of stuntman and action film director Pana Rikrai. He attended a physical education college with a Muay Thai scholarship, and as far as I can tell, he has a bachelor's degree in martial arts. Jaa spent a considerable amount of time in the mid-90s doing stunt work, with his most notable role being Robin Shou's stunt double as Liu Kang in the lackluster 1997 Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Is under attack, and it is glorious!
But work is work. Shortly after Mortal Kombat, it seems, is when Jaa and his predecessor Rikrai began working on the foundational work for Ong Bak. Rikrai was a significant figure in Thai action cinema, known for his gritty and realistic fight scenes, and he saw Jaa's potential as a leading martial artist. Rikrai introduced Jaa to director Pracha Pinkau, who was looking for a fresh face to lead his next martial arts project. With Rikrai's endorsement, Pinkau was convinced that Tony Jaa was the perfect choice for the lead role in Ong Bak. Together they pitched the film to producers, emphasizing the authenticity of the martial arts and the lack of CGI or wire work. Their vision was a film that featured Muay Boran, the origins of Muay Thai, on screen. Producers were initially hesitant due to the high-risk nature of the stunts and the relatively unknown cast. However, Pinkau and Jaa's passion and dedication won them over, and the project was greenlit. Making Ong Bak was no small feat. The film took approximately 3 years to complete, with a significant portion of that time dedicated to perfecting the fight choreography and stunts. The team wanted to showcase authentic martial arts without CGI or wire work, which meant countless hours of practice and rehearsal for Jaa and the stunt team. Pinkau used the time wisely and would videotape each action scene, adjusting the multiple camera setups and fine-tuning the storyboard so that the actual filming can maximize its shots. This led to one of the more unique elements of the film. How many times have you watched an action movie only to see a move you can't believe with your own eyes and go, I have to see that again? Well, Ong Bak has you covered, with its innovative use of instant replay throughout. Pinkau employed this technique to highlight Jaa's most impressive stunts and fight moves. Much like sports replays, these moments are shown from multiple angles, allowing the audience to fully appreciate the complexity and skill involved in each sequence. It's a clever way to emphasize the talent and physical prowess of Tony Jaa, and one of the smartest film techniques I've seen in an action movie. And while Pinkau's work behind the camera is incredible for Ong Bak, Tony Jaa's presence in front of it is just as great. And Jaa's not doing too much, and that's all we need. He plays a great fish out of water as just the most likable, nice guy trying not to beat everybody's ass. It's a very good rendition of the Jackie Chan default, please I don't want no trouble character.
Please! I said I don't want trouble!
Everyone from side character to villains do a fantastic job and feel believable in their parts. However, what doesn't have much believability to it but adds to the wince factor audiences experience when watching Jaa deliver a beatdown in this film is the sound effects. You can feel the cracked skull reverberation off some of these moves, and it just goes to show that sometimes being a little over the top, even if it's just with sound effects, can be a very effective way of leaving an impression. And after 3 long years of work, Ong Bak would strive to leave its own cinematic impression on the world when it would release on January 21st, 2003. As far as the film's reception, it actually wasn't that big of a hit in Thailand, with Pinkau stating, "Ong Bak is a very low-budget film and not many people have been impressed with it in Thailand." However, it did draw eyes from big names abroad, and the international distribution plays a unique role for Ong Bak. In the movie, there's a part during a chase where the crew wrote on a pillar, "Luc Besson, we're waiting for you." If you don't know who Luc Besson is, he's the writer and director of The Professional and The Fifth Element, and the producer of movies like The Transporter, Kiss of the Dragon, and District B13. Ong Bak, and clearly that hidden message caught his eye as his company Europa Corp decided to pick up the international distribution rights. It's also a blessing that Besson was the one to pick up the rights, because apparently Steven Seagal was also very impressed with Ong Bak and wanted to distribute it himself and reshoot scenes where he would have been Tony Jaa's master in the film. And I really just can't quite imagine how much that would have destroyed this whole experience.
I'm sorry to hear that. Because now, I will snatch every birthday.
However, Besson didn't simply distribute Ong Bak abroad. According to Pracha Pinkau, Besson cut about 3 minutes of footage from the film, but also changed the soundtrack. Now, he didn't change all the music, but the French rap songs are the obvious additions, and somehow this mixture of traditional Thai instruments with modern beats accompanied by French rap all blends together seamlessly in a strange various artist soundtrack cornucopia. I've said in the past, a masterful soundtrack can make a bad movie good and a good movie great. Ong Bak's soundtrack makes a great movie epic. And if you grew up during the 90s and early 2000s, one listen to the soundtrack and you can feel the year 2003 oozing from it in an awesome way. You can check out the Ong Bak soundtrack by hitting the link I've put in the description. But I think that's going to wrap up the concept and production side of Ong Bak. So that means now we get to move on to the film itself. It was hard to figure out how to go about discussing the movie, because I don't want to show you guys everything. But the film is also kind of thin on plot, and to do a full synopsis spoiler vid, I'd have to show you everything. And it's not a bad movie that lends itself to snarky commentary throughout, so a spoiler vid would have amounted to a lot of dead air and me saying, "Wow, isn't that awesome?" So instead I decided to give a brief back of the DVD style synopsis and go through the elements of Ong Bak that had me constantly telling people that it's stunt work at its finest and it's the best martial arts movie ever made. Putting it plainly, the entirety of Ong Bak is an athletic showcase. The film is essentially 4 or 5 long and incredibly complex action set pieces linked with the premise of a young Muay Thai master named Ting, played by Tony Jaa, heading to Bangkok from the countryside to recover his village's stolen stone Buddha head from the city's most violent gangster, who happens to be a dude in a wheelchair with a tracheotomy. I'm not even joking. Ting is accompanied on his journey by his mischievous, degenerate cousin Humle, played by Thai comedian and TV personality Mam Jok Mok. Together, they journey through the rough streets of Bangkok, running, driving, and fighting in an endless pursuit to retrieve the statue head of Ong Bak and return to their village of Nong Purdue in order to bless their dying crops. While there are a few minor subplots that push the narrative forward or add to character motivations, that's the gist of the film. But don't let that fool you into thinking that there's not much going on. In fact, this seems like the perfect time to give you a rundown of the type of innovative, action-packed adventure you're in for with Ong Bak by looking at a few of its set pieces. Let's start with Ong Bak's fast-paced market chase, which should be considered martial arts movie gold.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold!
Tony Jaa vaulting over obstacles like a parkour master while delivering flying kicks in between acrobatic flips is what we came here to see. It also includes this instant replay worthy moment I can't not show you. To this day, I haven't seen a foot pursuit as frenetic, fun and entertaining as the Ong Bak market chase. It's a perfectly balanced action comedy set piece with Humle continually trying to mimic Ting's insane moves to hilarious failure. And of course, as with every scene in Ong Bak, the music has a perfect up-tempo vibe to accompany the on-screen action. However, it's not just Ong Bak's foot chase that sticks in my memory, because the crew took their innovation to the vehicular chase as well, by having a tuk-tuk cab chase, which may be the most unique, moderate speed pursuit I've ever seen. Personally, I think the tuk-tuk chase is even more innovative than the foot pursuit. I mean, it's kinda hard to look badass driving one of these things, but our main characters even managed to pull that off. It's a chase with everything: crashes, evasive maneuvers, and an explosion so over the top and out of nowhere my only reference point is American Psycho. Despite how awesome the chase scenes are though, Ong Bak is obviously most known for its amazing fight scenes like the Battle Royale, which should be considered one of the best film fights of recent memory, up there with Ip Man fighting 10 black belts or the Old Boy hallway scene. This set piece is fantastic from a fight and storytelling perspective, giving a full narrative in about 15 minutes of a reluctant fighter dragged into a gangster's fight club betting antics and being put through a 3-man gauntlet. But this scene also helped to serve Jaa and Pinkao's purpose for the film of elevating the martial art of Muay Thai. And what a better way than having the Muay Thai style versus a freestyle fighter, a Jeet Kune Do Taekwondo type fighter, and a straight up brawler to display Muay Thai's versatility in unique fighting situations. As for one more reason I keep coming back to this movie, it's to watch other people's reaction to this brutal moment that, again, I can't not show you. But if broken bones bother you, I advise skipping the next 15 seconds.
That was unpleasant.
Yes, it was. But I hope you can understand now why I didn't want to show you everything from the movie, but wanted to give you enough to hopefully entice you to watch it in its entirety if you haven't already. But these reasons are why I feel Ong Bak took the torch from a trailblazing movie like Enter the Dragon and supplanted it as what martial arts movies should strive for in the modern era. And speaking of the modern era where everything is forced to be a franchise, brings up another point of discussion about Ong Bak. Because there was a sequel, in fact, there's a trilogy. However, Ong Bak 2 and 3 do not have the same magic as the original. I actually think Tony Jaa's stunts and action sequences are more intense in Ong Bak 2, but its decision to go back in ancient times really did not hit with audiences, and the storyline was actually confusing. And a martial arts movie should never have a confusing story. Basic is beautiful when it comes to action films. I do think you should check out the fight scenes from Ong Bak 2 and 3, but skip the full viewing experience. As for other Ong Bak media, there were plans for an Ong Bak game back in 2010, and an interview with PlayStation Lifestyle said Tony Jaa was going to be involved along with his stunt team, and that it was based on an upcoming movie. There's even game trailer footage for it, but much like the cancelled Escape from New York video game we covered in the past, it's a shame that this didn't come to fruition, because the gameplay does look pretty cool, and it probably would have helped Tony Jaa become a more household name like Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee. But all is not lost.
Up from the 36 chambers, it's the ghost.
In 2020, the game Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang 2 came out, and included Tony Jaa's Ong Bak appearance as their Muay Thai character. And it's pretty badass. If you've never had a chance to play Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang 1 or 2 and like fighting games, I really recommend giving them a shot. If nothing else, just for the chance to play as martial arts film legends and settle those hypothetical versus debates yourself. That should also say a lot about Tony Jaa and Ong Bak, that his character is being used in a video game nearly 2 decades later to represent the Muay Thai style. Tony Jaa's had an amazing action career with the Ong Bak trilogy, The Protector, and more recently making his way into mainstream action franchises like The Fast and the Furious, XXX, and The Expendables. It's safe to say that his masterful work on Ong Bak truly paved the way for the rest of his career, and it was his cinematic launchpad. Like an author who writes the perfect novel on their first try, he made the perfect martial arts movie, and one that stands the test of time. Well, I think that about wraps things up, gang. Thank you guys for coming along with me on this journey to the center of Ong Bak. I want you all to know your time, support, and feedback are truly appreciated here. I hope this video was informative, but more importantly, entertaining. I also hope that it's left you wanting more Ong Bak and will encourage you to go watch the film in its entirety if you haven't already. And even if you have, go watch it again, then show it to a friend and tell them to tell someone else. Because the world needs to know, guys. Action spectacle martial arts movies like Ong Bak only come around once in a blue moon. And it's our jobs to stand on the rooftop and howl at that moon for all to hear, "This movie's awesome!" And that's how I feel about Ong Bak. From the passion behind the project to the action, music, and story, all the notes work together perfectly in this street-fighting symphony of bone-breaking, skull-stomping, heart-pounding destruction. And if you don't take my word for it, just trust the RZA.
You gonna be blown out your seat, son. Trust me.
But let me know in the comments what you think about Ong Bak and what some of your favorite martial arts movies of all time are. But stay steezy, gang. I will see you on the next, and thank you for watching the Document of Ong Bak.
Sorry to hear that. Because now I will snatch every birthday.